it's just position specific, really.
Anyway, before I continue this on, because this is going to probably go on for a while, I want to get this one particular question out of the way for Steve. And then, Steve, I got a couple emails to hand to you as well, probably on a follow-up situation.
No problem.
But I don't want you to be the odd guy out today, because I could talk to your dad and your brother about this sort of thing all day.
I'm enjoying it. This is great.
I got all kinds of questions. Anyway, good morning. I happen to be listening to your show this morning. I've heard you talk to various attorneys. I think one of your attorneys touched on the vaccination subject. So, Dan, Steve, that was you about a month ago.
Yes.
I have a 2-year-old who suffers from seizures that began right after his 2-month immunization. I would be very interested in hearing more about your findings on this issue, and it seemed to be you might be the person to contact. I've considered looking into legal action, but at the end of the day, I'd like your wherewithal and your research and your know-how as to what I should possibly do. My youngest has only been immunized up through his 9-month requirements, and I'm definitely not subjecting him to any more. Again, if you could get back to me, I'd certainly appreciate your time. I think that's definitely something that you could get into, and I think that you've actually talked about that a lot, haven't you, Steve?
Yeah, I've been dealing.
You've actually been a big advocate of that.
Huge, and we've been working on it for about 5 years. And the truth is that vaccines are a necessary component of your medical treatment in life. But there are too many of them, and we need to slow down what we're putting in our kids and the kind of preservative especially that needs to be rethought. They're putting thimerosal, which is a mercury-based preservative, in these shots. It was just before the legislature. Our governor, Governor Christ, is so behind this. His position is do no harm. Get thimerosal out until we can prove that it is safe. And there are alternatives to that preservative. So
let me ask you a question. If you got a kid, I guess I have everybody that I need to talk to, and I got both doctors in here that can probably get into how dangerous those immunizations may be. Dan in one, and obviously Joe as well. But then if anybody has been injured on this, or their kids have some symptoms of an immunization problem, Steve, they probably should immediately get a hold of you, because unlike any other attorney in town, I mean, you have built-in doctors at your disposal, through your father and your brother. And I think you've actually done quite a bit of immunization situations, haven't you?
Yes, and all of our medical malpractice cases have been reviewed by my father. Any injury cases that we've dealt with, my dad has always looked at the injuries, as has Danny, to help us. And Dan's done a lot of work plastic surgery-wise on getting these people's scars revised and helping people get back to where they looked before an accident. But with the vaccines, yeah, we're doing that type of work. Anybody that's had an adverse reaction from a vaccine should call us, and we'll assist them in holding the responsible parties liable. Because 2 and talking is the rule of thumb. And, the truth is, Dan and Dad were skeptical when I first came to them about this.
2 and talking. What's that mean, buddy?
2 years old and talking before you start giving your kids shots.
Oh, okay.
And then 1 at a time. They group a bunch of shots all together at once. They start hitting these kids literally.
So don't be
lazy
and take your kid in, because my kids had 4 or 5 of them at one time. Go and get them individual.
1 at a time. And it took me some time to convince Dad and Dan, but now they're so on board with this that Dad and Danny have been adamant about not immunizing our own children until they're 2 years old and talking, and 1 at a time. Dan's daughter, no shots. Jay's son, no shots. So, and thimerosal is in flu shots. Full dose of thimerosal is still in it. They say, everything's mercury-free. It's not true. And they're hitting pregnant women and infants with thimerosal.
So, I mean, do you have the right, Dan, as you're having a little baby, or Joe, do you have the right to say, I don't want,
we practice what we preach. And we do have the right to treat our children the way we want to.
No, what I'm saying, as a parent, can you say, I don't want that right now?
Yes, you have the right for refusal. In fact, at day 1, they try to give a baby a hepatitis B shot, which has a full dose of mercury. Day 1. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that my daughter at day 1 is not having sex,
right?
Is not sharing needles with IV drug users,
right?
Isn't getting a tattoo at a seedy tattoo parlor,
right?
So I don't really see the value of a hepatitis shot at day 1. The other thing that people need to take home, and I'm not telling everyone don't immunize at all, but there's a couple principles that are very important. Number 1 is, if your kid's sick, don't immunize that day. Don't give your kid a vaccine if he's sick or he or she is sick. That's the worst thing you can do. Secondly is, don't stack a bunch of vaccines together.
Right.
And thirdly, and this should be common sense, if your kid has a reaction to a vaccine, stop. Don't keep poisoning him.
Dan is fired up. I love it.
You're getting mad at me here. I'm like,
every time I hear these stories, it breaks my heart. And I hear a story every week. I hear another story about a kid that's been hurt by shots.
It just hit our family.
My cousin's son is 15 months old. He got the HIB, the Haemophilus influenza B, and the DTaP shot, and immediately went into what they call full encephalopathy. It pickled his brain. He went from a cute, clever, playful, fun, interactive kid to a shadow of his former self.
Really?
The lights are on and nobody's home.
And who was that, Dan?
It's my cousin's son.
Wow.
And what
My brother's grandson.
So based on that, if a parent gives their permission for that, is there recourse where you can go back and say, well, there might be a lawsuit here?
Yeah, there is. There's called the vaccine court, but it's so one-sided. It's industry favored. Every time we get a vaccine, you pay 75 cents to the vaccine court, and that's what pays out to these victims. But the truth is, it's been a protection for the industry. That's why there are so many vaccines. They're almost immune from liability, and we're going to try to change that.
That'd be great.
Wow. So, I mean, Steve, quickly, if you could, give me your toll-free number. I know that you have offices in South Florida, all over. So, if anybody can hear me right now and you've had an immunization problem,
yes,
get a hold of Steve, man. And, whether it's a big issue or it's only a small one, Steve will walk you through it and help, and has the medical resources to help him as well. But they certainly have to get a hold of you, Steve. Go on, give me the number.
That's right. It's 800-803-1076.
And I mean, something as close as somebody that's related to you guys.
And we warn them.
Has been in this situation. And that's just, I mean, again, just like your dad said, this hits home, and we practice what we preach, and we're not in here just drumming up a bunch of fears. This has happened to our immediate family, where we have a kid that's never going to be the same based on an immunization.
Yep.
And Dan was telling me outside, he was like, everybody's going to come with this paranoia about this swine flu and try to give you a vaccination. He says, don't take it.
No way.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And this mass hysteria, this crisis, which allowed them to confirm their health services cabinet member, is being blown way out of proportion. And people out there, if your kid's sick, leave them home. If you're in a public area and you see other sick children, pull your children and yourself away from them. I mean, it's just common courtesy. We went to Gymboree with my daughter a week and a half ago. It's a little playground for like infants, It's got like the little stuff.
Right.
And there's a kid there that's doing this.
I hate that.
And I said to the lady, I think the kid's sick.
And you're a doctor, by the way.
And I'm a doctor. And the lady goes to the kid's mom. The kid's mom's like, oh, no, he's fine. He's fine. He sounded like an 85-year-old dying old veteran.
Right.
And the mom wouldn't pull the kid out.
That's crazy.
And that's the kind of inconsideration that needs to be addressed this month.
But by the same token, though, you also told me, and like your dad to chime in as well, and this was years ago when I first became your friend, he's like, you said to me, and I thought that you're just being Rain Dan and just, overthinking something, because you do.
Because I tend to.
Because even when I've been your patient, you wanted to go crazy, and your dad said, Danny, stop, we're not doing nothing. I was like, I love my Joe. It's my savior right there. No more stitches for me. And then I look at you with the ultimate F you. I said, you know what? The Godfather just spoke. You ain't doing nothing, buddy. I'm walking right on out of here. Because that man right there said so. But anyway, you said to me years ago that hand gel and the sanitizer was going to end up being a bad thing because these zealous moms would just be hand sanitizing their kids all the time. This and this and this. And then their kids wouldn't have enough. They would not have enough, and they would not build up an immunity to bad stuff as, we do as kids. You go play in the dirt, and our moms didn't frolic over us, and, we ate worms and chewed our fingernails and whatever, picked our butt and stuff like that. But, you said these overzealous soccer moms / moms that have the handy wipes and the hand gel and just, are overly obsessive about this would end up actually doing more damage. And then I just saw a report on CNBC about that very same thing, and how the generation of what they call hand sanitizers, the kids that have been grown up in that era, are really more apt to get germs and other things because their bodies don't have a certain amount of time to build up any immunity to the bad stuff. Is that true?
Absolutely. I've been saying it all along. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but it's been proven.
No, my mother-in-law is a nurse practitioner, works in the emergency room, works with a heart doctor, and she said the biggest mistake I see parents make all the time is they over-sanitize their children.
You got to let them eat dirt and be a hillbilly a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, we're way sturdier than the new age of people.
Sturdier.
We are.
Imagine how sturdy Joe and his boys are, man.
Oh my God,
sturdier than we are. Look at them.
Indestructible.
They're 75 years old, still looking like 35. That's how Joe rolls.
We were all thrown outside and told,
Yeah.
go
Remember
have,
when we were
go
going
have
out,
a good
man?
time. See, come back when it's dark.
And we came in and used soap and water. We
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
use...
So,
Exactly.
if you're
Well,
lucky.
But while you were playing outside, Brent, while you were playing, you didn't have a doting mother there with hand wipes, making you, wipe your hands every time that you got into a little bit of dirt. You washed your hands before you ate, and that's about it.
That's it.
And whatever happened to get washed while you lied to your mom about the quick shower you took. That,